Hey guys, I wanted to give a little bit of an update. I'm sorry if I haven't been adding as much content to the website as I used to or was planning on. A lot of different things have happened. Hardware issues, software issues. YouTube pulled out their standard video editor. I mean, it's not a big deal because I was planning to make a transition to Adobe Premiere anyway, and so now I'm in the process of teaching myself how to use it. I'm familiar with Adobe just in general, but video editing on their software isn't something I've ever done before. So I'm hoping to be able to do that to make some more compelling content. And then, so this video I'm gonna just shoot in sort of one shot. So I apologize for any screw ups or misspoken words or whatever. And then I'll try to update this in a single thing. And I do have some stuff upcoming. I felt like I wanted to do a little bit of intro to it before I actually posted it because one of them is like a seven-part series of what it's like to have your electric vehicle and not have work charging and not be able to charge at home. So I know a lot of people like to throw out the worst case disaster scenarios, and I lived through it for a week with the Bolt EV. So I made a video series of that as it was happening. I kind of had a heads up that it was going to, um, just to see what it was like, going through my normal routine. But that's something that'll be coming soon. So if you see seven videos pop up out of nowhere, that there's an associated article with it and all of that. So, but really the thing I wanted to do right now is I kind of wanted to chime in on something and this also has to do with a little bit of soul searching for me is what value am I adding to the community? What am I doing that others can benefit from? Uh, because I follow some of the other names, Nikki Gordon Bloomfield and her Transportation Evolved is a big one, right? And she brought up a topic that I thought is kind of important, and it's about making electric vehicles more affordable. And now, I think I personally think she started from a kind of a bad premise because she was talking about the Nissan Leaf. I don't think that's a model for it. Um, but just to lay the groundwork, right? Uh, two very important numbers to know. One is that the average new car MSRP, the average is $34,000. So if you can come close to $34,000, it's going to be near the average new car MSRP. But that's not the most important number, in my opinion. The most important number, in my opinion, is the median price of a new passenger car, or the new purchase price of a passenger car, and that median number is very important because it means 50%, right, fall at that number or lower, and that number is actually $22,000, which is significantly cheaper than most electric vehicles that you can buy right now. So if that's the median passenger car purchase price, EVs need to get a lot cheaper to make that something that's reasonable for the average person. Uh, now, getting back to the question that Nikki had posed, and I'll link to her video in this when I post it up. But the idea that the Nissan Leaf is offering a 40 kilowatt hour battery pack, the new one coming out, and that makes it more affordable and easier access for someone to purchase. And I agree with that premise, right? I think that having smaller batteries with faster charging will make a better sort of entry level electric vehicle for someone who's hoping to purchase it on limited funds. Um, and the part though I disagree with is the Leaf's strategy, or at least Nissan's strategy with the Leaf, because it seems to me that their goal is more to make the car more profitable for them as a company, and that's why they added the induction motor. Now I know I've gotten in arguments with this about this before, uh, but facts are facts. Permanent magnet motors, permanent magnet AC motors are more efficient than induction motors. And, I know, like I said, I've had discussions with people who, because Tesla initially built their vehicles with induction motors, that that they thought, well, that's the best there is. Well, it's the best there was for Tesla at that time. They're cheap to produce, they're easy to scale up to higher power numbers, right? So if you're going to put a luxury sedan out there, if you're going to put a luxury SUV out there, and you don't have time to program and the additional cost of a very large permanent magnet motor, and the efficiency isn't really your primary goal, induction motors make more sense. But this is why I feel like Nissan is sort of running counter strategies with their new Leaf, is they're using an induction motor which is inherently less efficient with a smaller battery. So you're completely offsetting the savings of making the smaller battery. And so if you're going to look for sort of a paragon or a model to build off of for how to build an affordable electric vehicle, I don't think the Nissan Leaf is a good standard. I think a much better standard is the Hyundai Ioniq. I mean, to a certain degree, you have the Bolt EV and the Model 3, which I think are also on the right track. But I think the Ioniq EV is maybe on a better track for what Nikki was discussing. And the reason for that is you have a car with a 28 kilowatt hour battery pack that goes almost as far as the Nissan Leaf does, the new Nissan Leaf does, with a 40 kilowatt hour battery pack. So imagine putting a moderately larger, the 40 kilowatt hour, larger than the 28 kilowatt hour that's in the Hyundai Ioniq Electric right now. If you up that to a 40 kilowatt hour battery pack, you'd have the same sort of cost savings that Nissan's going to see with a smaller battery pack, except you'd now have a 200-mile electric vehicle or very close to it, right? As the Ioniq Electric's efficiency is high enough that it would see at least 180 to 185 miles. And again, this is all EPA numbers. It's just much easier to do that as a standard. I know people will often exceed, and if you do, that's great. But we all need sort of a baseline metric to run from. And more information is coming out now about the Model 3. And again, I've been getting in discussions with people about whether, what's actually being published on their sticker is based on having the aero wheels or not, or what the EPA published numbers were not. I don't know. But apparently they're coming out with a sticker now. I think Teslarati had the vehicle or the vehicle sticker for the EPA that showed the long range Model 3 is having a range of like 334 miles, which coincides very closely with what the Tesla engineer said about losing, 10% if you take the aero wheels off. So that initial 310 miles might have actually been with their like 19-inch rims. So maybe we'll have to see on that. But either way, I think the Model 3, the Bolt EV, and the Ioniq Electric all sort of represent a better direction for where low and average cost cars need to be in terms of making them more affordable. I mean, unfortunately, no matter what you do, you're not going to be able to make a vehicle more affordable, electric vehicle more affordable, until you can make the battery cheaper. And so, take the Bolt EV's battery. Uh, it's supposed to be about a $200 finished packed cost. So, you're looking at about $13,000 that it costs GM for the battery in the Bolt EV. Well, the Bolt EV is a $37,000 car. If you cut the battery pack in half in terms of cost, now you have a $30,000 car that goes well over 200 miles, so about 238 miles on a charge. So that's very compelling. Again, the Ioniq Electric, just a 40 kilowatt hour battery pack in that car would produce a car that could go 180 to 190, maybe 200 miles per charge. The Tesla Model 3, even the base, the 220 mile range version on a 50-ish kilowatt hour battery pack, is going well over 200 miles. So those are all very compelling for that average new car MSRP. Now, again, we need to get the battery pack costs down, and from there, we'll be able to make electric vehicles more affordable. Um, and then, of course, the other thing is, I don't think we should discount the used car market. My family, I'm no stranger to hard times and limited finances. And there were many times in my family's history where the only thing we could afford was a used electric vehicle. Or, I mean, used electric vehicle, a used vehicle. Uh, because they were much cheaper. And electric vehicles, as long as the people who can afford them continue to buy them and lease them, even more importantly, it means the market is going to be filled with these lower cost $10,000 to $15,000 electric vehicles with relatively low mileage. As long as lower income people can, feel that that's affordable, it's going to be an option for them. So we just have to keep moving forward. And then one of the other important ways to address this is with the incentives program. Unfortunately, right now, most of the incentive programs are designed for wealthier people. They're what you'd call a regressive incentive program, because the less money you make, the less benefit you see out of the program. So, for instance, the federal tax credit, if you make $40,000 a year or less, that $7,500 tax credit, you can't utilize all of it. So it might as well only be a $6,000 credit or a $5,000 credit because it's not usable. Um, or at least not fully. You have a lot of these incentives that happen after the purchase so that your payments are still really high. So if you're going to struggle with a $300 a month payment, it doesn't matter that a few months later you're going to get a few $100s or a few $1,000s in the mail. It really needs to be point of sale type thing. So one, it needs to scale up. So what California did, where they scaled up their California rebate based on income, that's a good strategy. Another good strategy is just eliminating the sales tax, right? So if you eliminate the sales tax on a vehicle purchase, that's another $2,000-3,000 typically, that off the cost, that's at the point of sale. It's money that a person doesn't have to finance into the cost of the car. And then, of course, the other program, and this one, just for mnemonics, is easy to remember, is the old cash for clunkers. Now, other programs have happened like that, but those are very important too. If you have a 15, 20-year-old internal combustion engine vehicle on the road that's barely passing smog, but it's all somebody can afford, well, you should incentivize them to trade that car in, get it off the road. Don't allow it to be registered again. It needs to be scrapped. It needs to be repurposed or recycled, but it can't be continue to be used as a vehicle on the road anymore. Um, you do that and you incentivize it with a $5,000 or more credit for trading a vehicle in. So they're net benefiting from getting this vehicle off the road. That's another way of pushing forward this electric vehicle adoption, especially for people who are having difficulty affording it. And these programs work, and you see the countries where they work, right? So Norway is a good example of that, where they're eliminating the taxes. So it actually costs less to buy a luxury electric vehicle than it does to buy just a standard internal combustion passenger car. So anyway, like I said, I wanted to chime in with that debate, and I just wanted to give my 2 cents on it. And I think we're getting where we need to be because more manufacturers are playing the game. But like I said, I don't think Nissan's new Leaf is a good model for it. I more highly favor the way Hyundai is working with their Ionic Electric. I think that's a better model to go after. Try to squeeze as much efficiency out of the motor as you can, because what's going to happen is it means the battery, that's the most expensive component, you're going to get more out of less battery. So you can put a cheaper battery and still make a competent, capable electric vehicle. Case in point, just since we're here and I'm gonna brag. Um, Let me just do a little quick turnaround. I guess I can't, but yeah, I'll show you the screen here. Yeah, so 4.7 miles per kilowatt hour, and this is just sort of my standard, you know, 2.5 days worth of commuting. So, the Bolt EV itself is, highly efficient, which is why I say it's also a move in the right direction. It needs to come down in price. And battery prices come down in half. You're going to see the Bolt EV for as a $30,000 car before any sort of incentives. And hopefully the price comes down even more. This is a car that really should be, after the incentives go away, retailing for somewhere between $25,000 and $30,000, and it's a good offering in that price space. Anyway, I've already went way too long, but I just wanted to give you guys some updates, let you know where I am, what I'm doing, and yeah, and chime in on what I think is an important issue: is how can we make electric vehicles more affordable for an average buyer, median income, median new price car of $22,000. It's a Yeah, it's important to do. So anyway, guys, thank you. Let me know what you think. I'll put some links to the things I referenced, and maybe some others that I forgot to. All right.